and welcome back to Smiley Mama. Today's topic is why I homeschool. Okay, so going back to the beginning, I was public schooled my entire life, and we did live in a smaller town, so I think the quality of school was good. And then my husband, Justin, he was public schooled most of the way, but he was homeschooled around second and third grade through about halfway through his fifth grade year. His mom wasn't happy with the quality of education he was receiving, so she pulled him out and homeschooled him for a while and then put him back in. Around seventh grade, he started getting the little teenage attitude, and so his mom pulled him out of school again and homeschooled him until he fixed his attitude and was able to go back to public school. So those are our backgrounds. Also, my husband is a public school teacher, so he teaches in the high schools. He really understands what's going on in the school systems, and that influences our decision as well. So when we had our first baby, Layla, she is 8.5 now, I had heard of homeschooling and kind of thought that that was an interesting idea, but I didn't have any personal experience with it, so I don't know how serious I took it. But I stayed home with her, and as she got closer and closer to school age, it really became apparent to me that the most natural thing for me to do would be to homeschool her, at least for those early years. I was shocked actually when she was 5 years old and some of her peers were going off to kindergarten, and I was just thinking, she's so little at that age. I might be able to do like 3 days a week for half days, but I personally was not ready to send my baby to school for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. And I don't think she would have been ready for that either. So that really influenced me and made the decision really easy that, I was going to give homeschooling a try. We actually have a lot of families in our church who have chosen to homeschool. Last I checked, we had 30 plus families in our church. We do go to a large church, but that's still a really big group of people. So I have really kind of relied on them and some of their experiences and encouragement to really find curriculums and how do I do this, what does this look like, throughout our homeschooling journey. So that's been a huge blessing to me. So we have been homeschooling for a few years now. Layla is in third grade, Hazel is in first grade, and then Eden is 3. So she usually just plays while we're doing school, but that's all part of learning. We also look to the Bible when we're figuring out how we're going to parent our children. And there's a lot of scripture that I think really does support the idea of homeschooling. Colossians 2:8 says, "See to it that no one takes you captive by philosophy and empty deceit, according to human tradition, according to the elemental spirits of the world, and not according to Christ." So I think it's really important to make sure that our children have a really strong faith before they're kind of set free into the world, so to speak. Some other verses that I found are 1 Timothy 6:20, Isaiah 54:13, Psalm 32:8, and Matthew 18:6. But the one that really resonates with me is Proverbs 22:6, which says, "Train up a child in the way he should go. Even when he is old, he will not depart from it." So I think that's kind of my main goal in homeschooling, is that I want to give my children a Christian education. That's first and foremost my reasoning for homeschooling. We could accomplish this in a Christian school, and there are some Christian schools in the area that I'm sure do a wonderful job. But like I said earlier, for me, it was a very natural thing to want my children at home with me and be able to teach them the things that I see are most important in life. So some of the other things that I have on my list of homeschool goals, or even just reasons why we homeschool, are strong family bonds is a huge one. So we have 3 girls, and our motto is sisters stick together, and I remind them of that a lot. Just the idea that we can have friendships in our lives, and those are so important, but your sisters are going to be there no matter what. And I really love that they're home together a lot. They play together, they do activities together. They're the first one they want to go tell when something happens and things like that. So I really want to create a strong family unit so they can conquer the world together. The next thing I love about homeschooling is the flexibility of schedule. This is so huge. We want to have more time to do what we like and what we're interested in. We're able to take breaks when we want them or need them. And especially for us, we have more time with Daddy. So Daddy works a lot. He's only home for a couple hours in the evening and on the weekends. And so homeschooling allows us to make sure that we get our activities done during the day most of the time. We're part of a co-op that girls do ballet and gymnastics and drama class and things like that, and it's all done. So we have our weekends as family time, and that's been a huge blessing to us and something that we need in our family. So schedule is huge. The next thing we really like with homeschooling is that the parents can act as a filter for their children when they're learning the hard stuff about life. I mean, sometimes even with homeschooling, sometimes the girls are introduced to things that we would love to have waited longer to introduce them to, but a lot of things we were able to tell them about first instead of the world telling them this is how such and such should be or this is how it is. Instead, we get to tell our children, no, this is what we believe and this is what we think is right. And then when the world tells them things, we can kind of act as that buffer. Another great thing about homeschooling is the students are free to learn at their own pace. This is huge. They don't have to worry about, is the whole class finished learning multiplication tables and I'm still stuck on them? Like, no, we can go at our own pace. There's no pressure that you have to know such and such thing by this time. If the child needs more time to master a skill, then we take more time on that skill. If they are really fast learners and can grasp things very quickly, then we don't need to waste a whole semester trying to learn the same thing over and over. You've mastered it, we can move on and get to more interesting things. We also really like that our homeschooling is more of a hands-on learning type of environment, and we don't have to worry so much about standardized tests. There are tests included in our curriculum, and I do give them to kind of see where they're at and where they need more practice. So it doesn't matter to me if they fail the test. That's not a negative thing. That just tells me, okay, we need to not move forward yet. We need to go back and work on these skills some more. Another thing we look at is that we want our kids to be successful in the world, and that might mean going to college. And so if that's the case, we want to prepare them to be able to go to college. But if it's not college, that's okay too. I know I have a 4-year degree, and I'm really thankful that I had that opportunity. And I'm sure I learned some very valuable life skills there, but was it completely necessary for me personally to get that degree? I would say no. Thank you, Mom and Dad. I do appreciate it, but in the grand scheme of things, being a stay-at-home mom, I do have a business of my own. I didn't really necessarily need that degree. So if they want to start their own business, or if they want to be an entrepreneur, or a hairdresser, or whatever it is, we want to be able to equip them to do what they are good at and what they enjoy doing, and not just kind of be part of a system that says you have to go to finish your high school, and then you have to go to college, and then maybe you have to get your master's or whatever. Like, there's more freedom, at least in our house, that they can do what it is that they love and what they're good at naturally. One thing that my husband included in our list that I really appreciate is that we provide a safe environment for our children to fail. Like I said earlier with the tests, there's no pressure. There's you don't have a big F on your paper if you miss all of the answers. Our kids are able to try something, and if they don't get it right, it's okay, and we can move forward and try again, and there's just a lot less pressure on them, I feel. A lot of people worry about homeschoolers socially. They think, oh, well, they're never with other kids, so they're going to turn out weird. That has not been my experience with the homeschoolers that I've met. And I actually have seen that my kids have a lot more time to be social, a lot more time to play than I feel like kids in public school have. Also, my kids are, they're with kids of other ages, they're with adults, they're with elderly people all the time. They're not stuck in a classroom with kids who are exactly their same age. And so I feel like that grows them socially. They'll talk to anyone. My kids are not shy. They will talk to anyone and everyone about anything and everything. And I think part of that is personality, but part of it also is because they're used to being around all kinds of different people. We try to prioritize creativity. We encourage outside of the box thinking as much as possible. And we encourage them that they don't have to be something amazing. I remember growing up, that was something I always thought I had to be, that I had to be the best, like I had to get the best grades, or I had to be the best singer. Whatever it was that I did, I felt this pressure that I had to be the best at it. And I want to encourage my kids that they don't have to be the best at anything. Following God and living a simple life is actually a really noble thing. So even if they were in public school, that's something I would encourage them in. But I feel like I have more time with them and more influence on them when they're homeschooled to be able to encourage them in that type of thing. In talking about homeschooling and all the reasons that I'm passionate about it, I want to make sure that you understand that I am not anti-public school in any way. I think that all of us parents are just doing the best we can, and it is a very big decision to homeschool your kids. So I definitely do not think that there's only one right way to parent and there's only one right school choice. Definitely not. These are just some things that I've found to be true in our life, and like I said, I'm just trying to do the best I can. So I know you are too. I hope I've left you with some insight today, some encouragement, or just a smile. We'll see you next week.
The